Hey guys, whoa, I can't believe I got it in here. Oh, last second I realized I didn't have sound. I'm hoping you guys are hearing me because I did finally get sound, and I hope it's not some kind of weird wacky thing. So please let me know if it's a wacky thing, but I just got on. Sorry I'm about 3 minutes late, but in the last second I realized, oh no, I don't have it on right. So let me know if this sounds okay because I didn't realize I didn't have my soundboard here with me. I'm in Sarasota, actually, by the way. Hello, hello from Sarasota. Sarasota, Florida. I just was in Fort Lauderdale last week, or yesterday, and this morning I drove over to Sarasota. I was going to do this outside, but I decided that it would be too hard to do this all outside. And I was going to try to do the sunset, but actually the sun is just about to go down, and it's not looking like it's going to be a really big sunset like what we're going to be doing. So welcome everybody, welcome. Let me put my glasses on here too to see what's going on, who's here. I'm in this hotel room, but it'll be fine. And again, let me know if the sound's okay, and let me know for sure. Sounds great? All right, thanks you, Monica. And so here we go. And let me just, we're gonna be doing this scene today of the sunset in Florida. I picked it out especially because I was gonna be here and I was gonna do it on the spot, but there's no place I can, and actually I'm I think about 12 miles away from the beach anyway, so we're not right there. And so let me just, first we're going to do a little land shark lager today. I was just in a store downtown, and so we're going to go with this. So cheers everybody, cheers, 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 cheers from Florida. Here we go. All right, and so let me just show you what we're going to be using again today, our supplies. Our supplies we're going to use as always our Holbein paints, our Holbein watercolors, our BeckerArt brushes, and our Stonehenge paper. And no masking fluid this time. We're not going to have to use that. Hello, Becky from rainy Illinois. Sorry about that. Hey, Lynn. Hey, Pamela. Hey, Ann. Trout Valley. Oh, cool. And Lillian, Marianne, Sonia, Lynn, Carol from cold Chicago. Oh, it's cold in Chicago? Oh, I'm sorry too. It was 95 degrees here today. I'm like, oh my God, 95 is just way too warm. But it was fine. I'm not going to complain. And so again, for anybody who needs to know where my stuff is, go to my website at BeckerArt.net. And again, go down here to get the, and I actually started putting in both this week's and last week's image. So that if you're a couple weeks behind, I'm still going to leave those up there. I'll probably take down this last one from 2 weeks ago, and I'll move this one over to that side, and we'll just keep on having 3 of them up there. So you don't. So if you ever need to know where to get these things, just come and get them on my website at BeckerArt.net. All right, so let's go to the value study. Here we go. I didn't do a value study. I just made it black and white, and so just get to take a look at it. And so this is going to be a pretty simple one, and a lot of wet in the wet. We have to do a lot of wet in the wet because we have to have a lot of soft edges with the clouds. Hello, me from Georgia. Uh-oh, with tornadoes. Do this in your basement if you're in a tornado. Tina from Oshkosh. Hey, Tina. And so here we go. So let's go to our tabletop. Let me just get this out of the way. And so what you want to see here is that let me take another sip of this land shark. This is a really good lager. Cheers, everybody. Yesterday I was doing, I was studying waves, and look at this. I already put a bunch of, I didn't wipe it off. Anyways, yesterday I was studying on the ocean. I was studying waves, and so in a couple of weeks we'll be doing some waves. We're going to I'm going to show you my findings and my studying of the waves. I sat there for 2 days on the beach, and I was just studying the waves as they're coming in. Did a couple, if you saw on Facebook, I did a couple of sketches on the beach also, and so just studying them and how to do things. That's what a good way of learning how to do something is, just studying it and doing a lot of little sketches of it. So for these clouds, what you want to do is pretty much just go in there and learn by doing clouds, by just doing clouds. You don't have to even do a picture like this completely if you want to learn how to do clouds, or if you want to learn how to do water. Just take sections and do sections like that of sketching of that. You don't have to always do the whole painting to get the look of just a certain thing like a cloud or whatever. So for this, we're going to start out with the sunlight, which is the lightest part right here. There's going to be a sun right in the middle here. If you look at this in the value study, and also in my color sketch right in the corner, is that right here is going to be the sun. And I'm going to put it right next to this pier. So it hits almost like this, and so the edge of this pier will be red. We'll do that. excuse me, we'll do that thing where we blow out the post with a red so that the sun is so bright. And normally you put the sun like by the tree and then you have that blowout. We're not going to do that this time. We're going to take it and we're going to put it into this area right here. All right, so let's wet the whole surface first and get going with our light and delight. And again, ask questions if you need to. Just put them up there. I have my screen in front of me and I'll read up your questions and I'll try to answer some of them. And thanks again everybody for coming by, dropping by. And so here I'm gonna go around the part that's gonna be the sun, because that sun is the lightest in my whole picture here. That's what's lighting this whole scene up. This is a sunset scene. Sunset scenes are really good practice on how to learn how to do wet into wet. I always tell it's the best way of learning wet into wet. So I'm just gonna wet, because everything in the foreground is gonna be dark, so you can just go through everything. Basically, I'm just gonna go through all this stuff, wet the whole area, wet the whole background. And just gonna put this in here like this. Again, if I was painting this outside, there's a lot of different, we'll do one outside one day, and it's just a whole different concept. It's a little bit tougher to do things outside, and that's kind of the reason I didn't do it outside, because by the time I get everything set up, and it would just be, we'll do one of those especially, just to be it outside. And it's going to have to be just an extra thing that's not kind of a paint along. And also another thing I want to talk about these paint alongs. I know a lot of you try to keep up with me. You can stop this video at any time, even when it's live. You can stop it and it will continue on from that spot that it goes on. So if you decide to paint along, doesn't mean you have to keep me going. You know, you can stop my video, it'll still record it, and it'll still be live, but you can stop it and then go on from there. Don't try to keep up with me, because I've been doing this for a long time, and so for me, this is I try to do it in the hour that I have, and a lot of times it ends up being like less than an hour that I'm actually painting it. So if you don't feel you can do it in that time, don't try. Just stop the video. Stop the video while it's live. It will record. It's recording, and so it will keep on going from that point on where you stopped it. So you don't have to try to follow along and do it that fast. It's going to be there forever too. And actually, a lot of people I know are just, what they do is they just watch it all the way through and then do it on their own later on. You can do that too. That's fine. No problem with that. I have no problem with that. I noticed that some people were saying, boy, they're going so fast and they can't keep up. Don't try to keep up. That's, that I've had like 35 years of experience of doing this. And so don't try to keep up with me, but just stop the video. Stop the video at any time and it'll stop. Even like I said, even when it's live, it's live for you watching it, but you can stop it right now and then just keep on going. Hey, Rose from Florida. Oh, so you've been in the heat also. Good evening, Barbara. Thanks for stopping by. And so we're going to go up this way and watch what I'm going to do here now. See these, and the clouds up here have a circle and they're kind of glowing of orange a little bit. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in there first. I'm going to glow this, I'm going to put these little clouds up there. I'm going to glow them with a little bit of orange, and what I'm using is my yellow, permanent yellow light, and my permanent yellow orange, and a little bit of my brilliant orange. I'm going to use that, and I'm just going to go in here and do the clouds. And I should have a spray bottle, which I don't have, and oh well. And we're going to put it up here too. So I got to work a little bit faster and stop talking so much. So here we go, and then we're going to just put that in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the purple right on top of that, because opposite of yellow is purple, right, for its complements. So I'm going to use purple right in there to make it darker and more gray like the cloud is. And I can actually put a little bit of orange in there too. It's okay. I'm just going to make this a dark cloud. And I shouldn't do this first right now though. Shoot. Let me just show you what I wanted to do. So I want to go up here and do the blue, the background blue. So I'm going to use a little purple, a little of this blue. And so yes, I have to work fast, and you also have to work fast. But if you give yourself some time by spraying it with one of those mister bottles, you can do that too. So I'm just going to go in here with the blues. And again, the more pigment you use, the more you can control your edges, right? Remember that. The more pigment you use without the water's already down here. If I use a lot of pigment, it will stop my line. I can make lines. I can actually draw around this cloud. And it'll still float my pigment. I'm still floating my pigment. I may have to get up for a second, and I think I have a spray bottle over there, and I'm just going to have to get up for a second and get that spray bottle so I can show you how I can use that. And okay, I'm using the hotel. I'm going to have to rinse out this rinse out my blanket, my towel. I'm using one of the hotel towels as my tabletop, so hope I can get some of this up out of there. And so here we take a little bit of the yellow. And now the yellow, use the orange more yellow than the other one because the yellow and the blue will make green. So I don't want that, so I'm going to go more of a violet right here. And so I'm just going to kind of go in here and get your nice wet into wet happening. And I got to hurry up because what I have to do is let me just get up for 1 second. I've got to get my spray bottle, which is right over here. Take 2 seconds. And so the spray bottle, get yourself a Holbein spray bottle. And what you can do is I'm just going to keep it wet. So I'm misting it. Ooh, this one kind of dripples. So I'm just going to kind of spray this, get this a little bit more wet. And then I'm going to take, and now this is my light parts, right? Again, this is my light parts. I'm going from light to dark. And I got the blue in there. And I put the yellow in there first to get in the back of the cloud because the sun is behind the cloud. So I want to put that in there first. And then I will, because I sprayed it, it's kind of melting all together. So I'm going to go and rinse my brush off, get all the water out, and take pure pigment and grab my edge of my cloud again. And actually, I don't really have to because the cloud is going to be darker on certain spots. I'm just using pigment to stop edges. It's still going to be a soft edge, but I'm going to use thicker amounts of pigment to stop the edge and get a definite look to the edge. It's all going to float. It's all floating. Here I have some dark clouds. I'm going to use my smaller brush now because I have to draw these clouds right down here while it's still wet. So I'm going to take a little bit of violet, a little bit of orange, and the yellow. It's all going to be kind of good. It's going to be like a grayish cloud. And I'm going to go in here and do this all while it's wet. That's how I sprayed it. Remember, I had to spray it again. There could be even a couple clouds in front of the sun, but make them really light yellow, like this, and it turns to orange as you go away from it. Then you go to orange, you know, and you're just making little clouds. Yes, Sonia, you can stop it while I'm doing it. While it's live, you can stop it. It'll still record. You can just start it up right from that spot you stopped at. You don't have to wait for me, or you don't have to try to keep up with me. Just stop it. Just stop the video, and it'll come right back on again at that spot where you stopped it, and it'll continue from that point on. So here I'm going in there with a little bit of gray. How do you make gray on yellow? Use violet, or my lavender especially is really good for that. Just use lavender because this is complement, so I'll make a great gray. And here there's a little bit of these clouds way in the distance. And so again, now I've got to hurry up and do these big ones too. So I'm going to take my bigger round brush, and I'm going to have to get a lot of the pigment. Get a lot of pigment because I have to get in there and get that going. Now I have to make it a little bit wetter because I got to pick up this pigment. And I'm going to go in here and make a dark cloud, right? It's still wet up there, so it's going to be soft edged. I don't want any water on my brush because the water's already down. And if there isn't enough down, then put it down with the spray bottle, again with the sprayer. I'm going to make it on the edges of the yellow. And I'm going to let a little yellow shine through also so that you can get the little bit of the yellow going through. And so make this really nice and dark. Remember, things are going to get 20% lighter. So go a little bit darker than you think you're going to need. I'm going around up to the edges. A little bit of blue in there too. Let things float. Remember, float your pigment. And see how I'm getting a little bit of yellow in there. And if you didn't get enough yellow, you can also still put it in. You can put a little bit of that in there on the edges. You can put a little bit of the yellow. Anywhere on the edge is going to be a little bit more yellow anyways because it's going to be reflecting. The sun is behind and it's showing through there, right? So you got to make that behind there. Now this one too. Let's go first with the dark colors. And you can go beyond the cloud too. It doesn't have to be right at that point. You can go beyond that area. Like it can be part of a dark cloud. And these clouds are so cool. I mean, sometimes you get those puffy clouds in the sky. They're so cool. So that's cool, and you get those kind of things. I'm not going to put this one in there as much, and I didn't put any orange behind it, so I might as well put some of that now. Just kind of go behind the trees. Those trees are going to be black, basically, almost black. Not quite black, but they're going to be really dark, so I can go right over that with that color. Here I'm going to come up in this area. And again, this is wet enough. I'm getting soft edges. Watch your edges. You want them soft. You don't want clouds to be hard-edged. when I was doing the waves today, somebody had asked that, they thought that most of the waves should be soft edged. Yes, some of them are soft edged, and some of them should be soft edged, but maybe the ones that are your center of interest could be hard edged. Anything can be hard edged and soft edged. Now here I'm losing a little bit of the light shining through some of this cloud, and so I'm going to pick up a little bit of this medium, some of the pigment, and I'll put a little yellow back in there. So back and forth, put a little bit of orange in there, back and forth, so you can kind of see through the cloud. And work the cloud. I mean, this whole painting is just about the clouds and the water, so once you get that done, you're done. I mean, it's kind of fun. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Then, it's going to be a fast one for you. I wanted to keep it simple because, again, I thought I was going to be on the beach doing this, but it's just, again, a little bit too hard right now at the moment. And I have to set up like that in the summer when I'll show you how to do that, because you also, teach sometimes is a little bit harder also to teach when you're on the spot, because there's so many things to keep into, where the sun is and how you keep things drier or keep them wet enough because it's so hot outside, and so little things like that you have to watch out for. But we'll do that one day. I've done a couple of those last summer, and we'll do it again in time. Now notice I didn't get a little bit of purple. Let me get a little bit more purple in here, a little bit darker. And if you feel like it's starting to get too dry, take your mister and spray a little bit. Put that in there. Work it nice. Work it until it's done. Because once the sky is done, I'm not going back into it. You can't. As a matter of fact, it's too hard to go back in. So get it done now and work out while it's wet in the wet. Get your nice light colors in there. Around the sun down here, it's going to be a little bit lighter and it's going to be more orange. Get a little bit of that. And remember what these colors are. Oh, look at I sprayed. I made little dots, and so we got little stars in the sky now. Oh well. The spray bottle is not the I didn't pick up the right one. Didn't pick up the Holbein one. Gotta pick up the Holbein one. The Holbein ones is the definite mister. Beautiful mister. And so I'm gonna just go in here and I'll show you how to correct those mistakes too in a second. And I think I got this not quite dark enough. Remember, it's once it kind of spreads out, it's whatever pigment you have there, so don't be afraid of using a lot of pigment. And so here, let's go with a little bit softer. Let me take my flat brush again and go in my sky, because look at all these little dots in there. It's still wet, so I can just go in here and mush that around a little bit, let things float again. And let's see over here a little bit. It's still wet. Look, I can see from the side that things are still wet, and when they aren't, I'll just wet them a little bit more, and then they'll be fine again. So ask your questions. Don't be afraid of asking questions. I will answer them. I'll look up every once in a while to see if you have a question. And also what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple dark blue clouds. I can do that too. Take a nice dark blue cloud and take it over these clouds. You don't have to do exactly the cloud that is there. You can make up your own cloud. See, there can be one that's really dark. I'm making one that's super dark, and it's going to come right over the top of this one. Like a little cloud right there. How about a really dark one right here? You're the creator. You do what you want. You make it the way you want it. Just because basically the value study is pretty simple. Everything in the background is lighter, and as it comes forward, it gets darker. And this is my dark, and everything out back here, even the clouds, are more of my light areas. And I notice I'm losing some of the light edging of the cloud here. Well, later on, what I can do is I can pick some of this up later, and I can scrub a little bit of that out there again. Or like here, I just picked up a little bit of it. See, I'm just picking up a little bit of that. Get a little bit of that on the outside there. Just dry your brush, dry it, and then just pick it up. Oops, get my palette here so you can see what I'm doing. And so you can just kind of pick up. I dry my brush on the towel, and then I just pick up a little bit edges. Just pick things up here and there. And if you see, like here, I'm gonna pick a little bit of this blue I see that I have there. Take it up nice and thick, and watch this. This is gonna be fun. I'm gonna take that little bit of blue and make that a cloud, like going into this area. So you make things when you see something that happened in your work that you feel like, oh, I could do something with that. Then go ahead and do it. Make the clouds three-dimensional. Like there's clouds in the back, clouds in front. They're all over. Okay, so that's pretty much my sky. Let's go move on. I kind of don't like how this goes pointed up and it's got both sides, so gotta kind of get rid of that. That's not a good composition when that's almost tangent to this. And so if you saw my newsletter this week, tangents are when something touches something else and you can't tell the difference between the back and foreground. So I'm gonna get rid of that so that doesn't touch up there. So it kind of just bleeds away and there's no point. We don't want a point touching a point. Then it flattens the image. And so I think we're good with that. Now, these colors are coming down here, and these clouds are coming down here. One more thing, I just noticed that this is not dark enough in some spots here. I'm going to put a little bit underneath part, a little bit darker while it's still wet there. A little bit darker, coming through there. See how much fun that is? Just keep it a little wet, make your soften the soft edges, and you'll have a lot of fun with this one. Because you guys spend time in learning how to do wet into wet and learning how to get all these clouds to be soft edged. And if you don't want to do a painting of this, just do clouds. Just do a sky of clouds. I'm going to soften this up a little bit in front of the sun because I don't want that to be hard edged. I want it because I didn't wet the sun, so I'm going to kind of soften that up a little bit so that the cloud is not so hard edged. I keep it a little bit lighter. All right, so now let's go into the water. And so the water is the opposite of what I just did up there. I'm going to start out with the yellow, like I did up on top. I will put in the land back there later, but right now I'm just going to start out with the yellow. I'm going to go right through everything, right through the pier, right through the thing over here. That's all going to be darker. And then I'm going to go a little bit orange in here. I should wet it all first, and so let's just do that real quick. Let's wet it, the whole thing first. All right, any more questions, guys? Let me know. Let me know if there's questions. Getting a little bit of orange in here, and I'm going to try to mimic the clouds a little bit as I go down. Though you don't have to get so perfect with them. I know in the photo it's pretty perfect that the one cloud is right on top of the other, like this right here. Let me see if I can show you. That cloud right there and down here on the water is kind of the same. You can see that you don't have to make it that perfect. What I'm saying is just you don't have to make everything so perfect like it's a photo. You can be off a little bit and it'll be fine. It will be absolutely fine. As long as it's kind of like in that area, you'll be good. So I'm making this blue. I'm going to do the big washes first, the big wash, and then I'll put the dark clouds just like I did up here. I did that yellow in there. I'm not going to put so much the yellow down first on this one because I want my brushstrokes to be back and forth. When you're doing water, brushwork should be this way, back and forth, not up and down, just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So again, I can make little waves first, little waves. Let's go up here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my smaller brush, and there's some shadowing underneath this pier here a little bit. But now let's take our small brush, a small round, and now I'm going to start and create the shapes that are from above. So these clouds right here are going to be down here. So I'm just going to put those in here right there. See, I'm just going to kind of go across here and kind of get those in there. Just not as powerful as they are up there. I'm not going to identify them as much. I'll maybe put a little bit more of that color. And I'm putting the color of the water, not so much what color is up here, because I want the color of the water to look like it's a reflection. And usually what you do is you use the color of the water that it is a little bit darker first, and then you can put a little bit of orange in there afterwards. So figure out what color of the water is, put that down first, and then use the color of what's reflecting in there afterwards. I know it sounds weird that you do that, but it really works so much better if you do that. I found that if I all of a sudden put like the bright orange into this, it won't look as good as if I just make this a dark blue at first. And then I can put a little bit of the yellow on the outer edge. So always the color of the water first. Get the big reflection in there. And so this reflection in here would be this cloud right up there. Bring it down here, and then just give me back and forth lines. And nice sharp lines on the edges. And it doesn't even have to be the close to the shape of that. Just make it back underneath it. So I'm just using a dark blue right now, dark blue purple. That's fine. I know this is a lot of orange in there. I'll get to that, but first the color of the water, like I was just saying. First the color of the water, then the color of the cloud. It helps, let me tell you, it helps a lot. And here, put this little cloud in there. Helps it to look like what it is. And it is a reflection. It's not a cloud up there. It's a reflection of a cloud. So first you got to make it look like a reflection, then you can make it look like the cloud, the color that it is. Here I put a little bit of the orange in there to show the wave. I'm showing waves. By making these little lines, it's showing also that the water is a wave. It's not just that I'm doing reflections to make it look like a mirror. I'm making it look like waves. I have to make this like water rippled. And so, and my instructor always said, make things look like they're moving, water's moving. Don't make it look still like a mirror, because then it doesn't, you can't tell which is the water and which is the sky. I know a lot of photographers like to do that, where they're looking, you can't tell which is what. That's for photography. For a painter, it's kind of hard to make it look like, if you can flip it over and you don't know which side is the color of the cloud, or if that's the original cloud, or if that's water. So you want to make it look like water first, and so that's why you make it moving. You make the water move. Now underneath the pier, same thing. We have a dark in there. Go with the purple and the blues. Get darker. That's blue underneath there. Going to make that blue and dark. And again, you notice I'm working all wet into wet, because I want everything soft edge at the moment. I don't want any hard edges yet. That'll come when this is dry. And so I'm getting all soft edges. And how do you control soft edges in a wet wash? Lots of pigment. Thick pigment on your brush. Hardly any water on my brush. My water is already down on my paper. I already wet the paper, so that, you saw me, I wet the whole paper, so it's still wet. And if it does become dry, then spray it. And I notice that this is starting to become a little bit too dry, so I am going to spray it a little bit, mist it, and this is not my good mister, so, oh man, it's just like spraying out like a ton of it. Hold on, let me see if I have my other sprayer here. One second. This is not the hope I need. Oh, this one will work better. Yeah, this one's a little bit better. Okay. So there, I wet it a little bit, so I can get my reflections back in there. The reflection doesn't have a lot of water waves. Does not have a lot of water waves. Well, that kind of like a lot of water. It depends on how much waves you want to put into something. Like if you just want a little bit of wave, that's fine. If you want a lot of waves, you just have to put every single wave in. So back here, they're going to be too small of waves, so you really can't tell how small they are. So later on, you can do some hard edge waves. Right now, we're doing all soft edge waves. Now, this big cloud up here, up there, is going to come way down here, right? So we're going to do a little bit of that down here. And again, I'm not doing my smaller waves yet. Those will come later. I'll get those smaller waves, and those will be hard edged. These right now are all soft edged. I'm getting my soft edge waves, my bigger waves. Remember, everything we do is from big to small. So everything you're doing right now is from bigger areas to smaller areas. So you just keep on going smaller and smaller as you go along. And this is this wave right here. And so first with that, now I'm going to take my orange and do the outer edges. And again, this is while it's wet, and so I can just do it right into while it's wet, you can put a light on top of a dark, which you can't do that when you're doing on dry. So do the lighter part on top of the dark while it's wet, and it'll float. It'll float right on top, and it'll push aside some of the dark, and it'll just go right in there. So that's how come you do things wet into wet, because you can also do the light parts into the wetness. You can't do it while it's dry, because that's called gouache. That's a gouache. That's the way you use gouache, and where you're making everything's hard edged. This is wet into wet, and I'm making it soft edged, and making it a little bit darker, and lights on top of darks. And there is no shortcut on how to do small waves, like little tiny waves. You just have to put them in. You can do it later on and make them not so contrasty, and they'll look not as sharp and not as hard, because if they're not as contrasty, they wouldn't look as hard. And on the edges, anything on the edge close to this area, I forgot about that. I want to make that a little bit light right down the middle. So watch this. I'm going to take out and pull out a little bit of the white. I'm just going to take out and just going to pull out a little bit of this white. Take a little bit of tissue paper here, and I will just tap that and just kind of go down here and kind of wipe out a little bit and keep the white of the paper coming back. I can just pull that in, because again, it's going to be reflect down, right? I'm just going to reflect that down through here. I can also use white later, actual white paint, but for now I'm just going to, it's still a little wet, so I can just pull out a little bit of this paint. Just pull that in there through there, right? I said I was going to do it right next to that post, right? So it's going to just show a little bit through there. I'm just pulling it out. See, I'm drying my brush, and I just pull and brush it off a little bit. It's not all the way dry yet, so I can just pull some of that out of there. And that's the sun. And some parts will be a little bit wider, maybe. I can also dab out a little bit like that. All right. So now, while this is drying, I'm gonna work from the background, and so that's pretty much my big areas of light and dark. That's the that's actually my light. That's my light area, and my middle tone darks. The darks are going to be basically these trees and the pier and the bushes back here, maybe a little bit of that land, because everything else I consider to be in my light area. Even though these clouds are dark, they're middle tone, you know, basically. I consider those to be more my light area, even though they are dark. But this is my dark. My true dark is going to be these trees, and so for a fact, you have to make these really, really dark. Otherwise, then it will, if it's the same as this, then these are all my darks. And so I really want this to be my dark area, and that's more of my light area. This whole area around the darks is my light area. Even though there's middle tone, like I always say, middle tone can jump to either side. But my value study says that this is my center of interest, my area of interest, my darkest dark against my lightest light. And so that has to be really dark. And so that's almost going to be black. I'm actually going to use black with my colors into it. And so right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here and start out with, first off, is making way in the distance there's a little bit of land. Like this is one of the keys out there. I'm in Sarasota, and there's a bunch of keys, you know, a little bit of peninsula as I go way out there. So I'm going to start out with this area being more red, right underneath the sun. As a matter of fact, you can even do it yellow. I pull a little bit of the color out of there. And as it goes away from the sun, it gets darker. And then I can pull it in a little bit more red. And I can go to like a darker color, like a blue, because the sky is going to engulf back there, so then I can go to a really nice dark color. And then make it nice and straight. When you're doing a horizon line, I don't care, even if it comes towards you, make that line straight, because otherwise it'll never fit on your wall right. If you have that on a slant, then it looks weird if you have this on a slant. And actually I'm looking at it now, and I got to go down a little bit, right? I got to make that nice and level. Make that nice and level. I'll make a little bit of blue back here. You can make it look like trees by making it a little bit, you know. All right, those are the keys back there. One of the little islands or the peninsulas that go out there and outside of Sarasota. All right, and this post, since I've got that red on my brush right away, this post is going to start out red and go to a dark color. Only because I already have that in my brush, I already had that, I might as well just put that on there. So it'll look like it's lit up right there, because the sun is going to be really bright right there. And even the pier right there will be the same thing. It'll be really bright right there, the pier. The sun is very powerful, and it takes over, and it makes the colors change because it's so vibrant that it turns it warm. It turns it warm because it's right on the path. Your eye sees that first, the warmth, and then it goes to the dark. So I'm just going to put that little bit of that in there right now. I'll go darker later, but right now I'm just putting a little bit of that nice warm tone there, because I already have that in my brush, and I can just wait for that to dry, and then we'll go with darks. All right, so there's my background tone, and that stuff like that is really important to keep your viewer looking, and it makes your paintings just so much more dramatic if you do stuff like that, you know, because it happens out there. And it's not just the camera doing that. Some people think the camera does that because it's burning out. When you look at something, look at the sun one time. Actually, don't look at the sun. Don't tell people, well, David told me to look at the sun. No, don't look at the sun. Look on the edges of things, and when you're looking towards the sun, look at the edge of things, and what they become very blurred, and they can become very red. Rose asks, why doesn't the orange and the blue mix to green? This yellow, I went from the yellow to more of a violet, a lavender, and then I went to the blue. And so, and then I switched I go to a brilliant orange, which is more of a red orange. So if you have a red orange, it's better than the yellow orange. The yellow orange will turn blue, and it'll make a green. But the orange that's more red will not, it'll mix it and make it more of a purple, because it's more of a red orange. So go more with the red orange when you get to the blue. That's why I didn't mix to a green. Though over here it did mix a little bit, because I did mix a little bit of that yellow into the blue. So there's a little bit of green, but that's not that big of a problem either. Because that does happen. It does happen to that. All right, so let's go right into our trees now, because this is going to have to wait to dry here, and I'm basically into my dark darks now. And so to mix my dark darks, I am going to go and first going to tell you guys cheers, because I'm getting a little bit of sore throat here. No, I'm not getting a sore throat, dry throat, because I'm talking too much. So cheers, everybody! Cheers, cheers, cheers! Cheers from Florida. I was going to have an umbrella drink, but I couldn't find one. I'm inland. I'm not in the water. All right, so let's start out with black. I'm just going to take my peach black. I'm just going to start out with the darkest color I have, which is black, and I'm going to mix a color to that. And so I'm going to take a little bit of red and mix it in with my peach black to get a really dark red, right? Because I want to do these right by the sun first. And so I'm just going to basically draw my palm trees. And so these are the fronds of the trees, and so they're going to make them really nice and dark. I like to usually do a line to the edge of the fronds. You know, you're going to go in there, and so I make one line, and then I make all those little palm leaves from that branch. It's like a branch, but the whole thing is a branch, and then they have leaves coming off of it. So I like to use a line first. I make it real thin. This is a good time to use your finest brush. You know, if you've got a really fine brush that has a really pointy edge to it, that's the best. And then I'm just going to do each individual, you know, and take your time, because it's really, it has to go to a nice fine point. And so I usually do the whole line of the back of the palm first, and then I take from that palm, I just can wisp. I can wisp it a little bit, and some of them aren't going to do every single branch. Some of them, you know, like over here, this is all going to be kind of together, so you can kind of take your brush. Now I had that trick before with the pine trees. It doesn't work so much here because I just had to make straight lines. And so a flick of the wrist, and if you have like the rigger brush is always a good one too. Is if you take the rigger brush and then take it and make it really nice and thin, and then you can do the same thing. Make a line first, the outer edge of the palm, and then fill in underneath the palm. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and make it a little bit wetter so it glides really nice. And then just do each and every individual palm here. See how that works? I did each and every individual one. But I first start out with the outer one. And if the wind is blowing, they're all going to be going this way, you know. But I'm making it like the photo is. Just follow your photo, draw, give it a good drawing. And if you actually draw really well and you do the drawing, now I'm using that red with the blue, but I got to switch away over on this side. I want to go more with the bluish green. So I'll mix a little bit of blue, a little bit of quinacridone gold to make it kind of a greener dark blue and black, and this side will be a little cooler, because this side I wanted to be a little more orange, because that's where the tree is closer to the sun. As a matter of fact, excuse me, this is a good beer. Land Shark lager. I'm not sure where it comes from. I didn't read the side yet. And so here we're going to go a little bit of orange on this side, just so I can make that look a little bit more orange. And you can even have some orange fronds behind to make it look like behind, that they're coming from behind. See, a little bit behind there, a little bit of branches there. And depending on how loose you are, some people, like I know Homer. Homer had, when he did his some it would just be like one big brush stroke. It depends what your style is like. Are you more where you do a really loose style, or do you do each individual blade of grass or every frond that you see on the branch? Some people are a little bit looser, and so they do the whole thing, like in one brush stroke. Like I did leaves the other week when I showed you how to do a leaf, when we did the flowers. And so here we're going to go in there and just kind of go on then. Now the branches, and now I made those orange, didn't I? But that's okay. We can keep some of those orange too. Now go a little bit darker, putting some purple, darkish blue, which is my Prussian blue, a little quinacridone gold to get a little bit of green in there. And now I'm just going to kind of flick it in there, flick around. See, I'm not making it, I'm just, you know, I mean, the fronds are all over the place, so you don't have to go in one direction all the time, especially when they're all kind of come together. Leave a little space between there alone so you can see through it too. Now I noticed that there you can see a little bit better. I put a little bit of an angle here. You can see, I think it's reflecting a little bit there with the light. So I'll make it a little bit darker. Again, start out with the outer edge of the frond of the palm branch. The palm branches and the fronds are what, you know, comes from the branch. That's another thing. A couple of years ago, I was sat out there like I did this week. I went and I this week I'm studying waves. There was a year when I was out here studying the palms and the leaves and the fronds, and I was just that's all I was doing was just painting those. I was sketching them basically in my sketchbook, just to see how they work and how to do them. I mean, there's so many different types of palms down here. You can't just regulate it as doing one way. There's so many different ones. Some just spread upwards in this fashion. Some come around. Some hang down. Some go to the side. So they're all different. So you just have to know what they all are. And so a good way is just to study them and do sketches of them. And actually, sometimes you don't have to even paint them. Just do a pencil study. Pencil sketches are fine to teach you how to draw them, and then you can do them and paint later. Lynn asks, why do I prefer peach black rather than lamp black? I like peach black because it's a warmer black, and it's almost hard to tell the difference. It's supposed to be a warmer black, so that's why. And I just thought it was kind of a neat black. Lamp black, I'm sure, is just as good. You know, it's whatever you like. If you feel it gives you a darker black, then go with that. That's great. I found that peach black is just a little bit more warm, but so little. I mean, almost it's very minute difference. Very. I mean, the average eye couldn't tell the difference between that. If you put them both dark side by side, you'd have to really look through a microscope probably to see the actual difference when you're putting them on thick. Like when you're putting on this dark, when it's black and black. But and again, I always mix my blacks anyways, so use lamp black or the other ones, or peach black, or what's another one? Ivory? No, not what's the other black? All I know is lamp black and peach black and. Any other questions? Let me see. Any other questions? No, not yet. And so now I'm going to come down here, and so there we got some of my. And back, boy, it doesn't look so. Oh, here we go. See how it's a little bit darker than it looks like because when I have the light on there. All right, so now we're gonna see when you have the reflections of the light above. I don't have a really good system in my hotel room here for my lighting, so it's basically the lamp in the corner that I kind of took the lampshade off, and so I'm getting a little bit of a makeshift studio today. So we're gonna come down here and just gonna make these little lines of the. I'm not getting really fancy with the trunks of the trees either. I know there's some that have really fancy trunks and stuff. These are too thin to start making kind of fanciness to them. Though I can put a little bit of warmth in the one that's closer to the sun right here. I can put a little bit of red on the edge. Why not? You know, it's just that way I look closer to the sun there. And this one, that one we can put the same thing. And so here we'll put a little bit more darker. This one kind of bends over this way. So there we have our trees. Here I put a little bit of something underneath there so you can see it so it doesn't reflect. Now for these branches here, these little bushes, what I'm going to do is there's so many different ways of making texture when it comes to doing leaves and bushes and just overall big areas. You can take your brush and kind of set it down like this to make the outer edge. You can poke at it. You can take a sponge. I like to just sometimes just paint it. Just go in there and do a couple dots on the edges. And then the inner part, that I like to just keep and do wet into wet as I go along. That's the wet as you go along technique, where you wet it as you go along, and then once it's wet, then you float your pigment on top of it. But the outer edge is what's important here, and it can be hard edged because I want it to be really hard edged, and I want it to stand out. And I want it to stand out really strong because this is my dark area of my composition. So I want this to be a really contrasty dark. Oh, I made it a little bit too thick now. Oh well, that's a thick palm. And I'm going to go around this little edge of this of the pier post, and I'm going to come out here and do a little dots. And now I should make those yellow and red, right? Because why? Again, this is the sun, and so right here we have a little bit of the leaves to catch that little bit of that sun. And they're on the side, but they still will catch a lot of that. The rays of the sun will catch right on the edge of this, on the back of those posts. And juxtaposition these posts, I'm going to keep them light on top and dark on the bottom, so that way they'll start out light and they'll go dark as they go down. It's a good old trick to juxtaposition the values. Like started out, these posts are light against the dark, and then as it goes down by the pier, it'll be dark against the light. good old watercolor trick is to keep it, where you don't just do a line dark all the way down. Start it out light and go to a dark. Gradations are great. Always try to go with the gradation. Now I'm taking a little bit of orange again, and put it on the edges here. Try to get that lighting. It's so important to get that lighting right, to get the color right for the lighting. That's what shows that it is lit up right there. If I even make it yellow right there, it can even be better because it's so bright. The sun is so bright, hitting against the edge of these leaves, that they're turning red. And then as I go over this way, I can make them really, really dark. So there, watch this, almost black. I'm just going with a little bit of black. Go around the post again, juxtaposition. Come this way. Down. I'm not making them red, warm over this way. Over here, I'm going to make them cool. That's away from the sun. So I'm going to take a little bit of blue and put the blue in there now. Go around this post. Oh, I got my hand in front of there. Sorry, guys. Not used to not being in my studio. I'm glad I can get you the Thursday night video today. I was not going to do one, but I thought, oh, what the heck. Do it in the hotel room. I can just do it here. All right. So there we have the foliage that's off the edge, and you have a lot down here in Florida. Boy, there's a lot of swamp, and there's a lot of places up there that there's just nothing but foliage. Now here, I'm just going to make this a little bit darker, this blue, and that's the pier, and I'm just going to make that lighter, maybe a little bit darker, because it is a little bit darker, and then I'm just going to bring it out here. And then again, add in the warmth that was already there. And I'm just going to mix that right into the warmth part. And now this pier will be in front. And then back here behind, I'm going to go with a really dark again. Now, I wet this, so that's okay. If I use it thick enough, it will not bleed. It's all on how thick you make things. And then I'll reflect that into the water. This is going to be really dark, and this is really thick. I didn't wet that, but this is wet up there. And so you see why it's not bleeding into there? I used a lot of paint. This is wet, but because I used a lot of paint, it's not going to bleed in there. That's how you do it. You just use thicker amount of paint, and you can just make lines inside there. People think that while it's wet, it's still floating, but I'm using so much paint that it's so thick that it can't bleed because it's too much paint. It's still going to give me a soft edge though, which is what I want. I still want a soft edge, but I don't want it to bleed. I'll take this down here. This post will come down here. Post, dark side of the post. And those posts I have to wait till it dries because I want to get those to be light, but not so light that they're that light. I mean, they're going to be a little bit darker than that. But then down here, I can just mix this all together, and they all come together as a post that's dark and a little bit of light all through there. And I'm making a little bit of the reflections down. Now I'm making those small waves. Remember I said I'm making hard edge waves. And they're hard edged and they're small. And you have to make every one that you want. There's no like trick to making, every wave some way with a big brush stroke. No, you got to make every wave. Every single wave, if it's small, you just got to put them in there by hand, literally putting them in, each single one. But because we did the other ones beforehand, we can just do these little ones and it'll look really nice. It'll all blend together. These are a little bit darker, slightly darker, so they won't look so hard edged, but they'll give a nice look of waves, little tiny waves. And also I'm going to put a little rope in here too later on. I can even put a little bit of warmth in this one just so you can see a little bit of difference there. And then we're going to kind of come down here and let's get this post right there. That post can be dark. I'll just make it a dark warm color though. Maybe like a brownish red. I can make this post right here. Maybe leave the little rim lighting on it. It comes down to about there. Comes down here. And this is detail stage. I mean, that's all I have left is details. I mean, that's all I've got left to do. So then you slow down, and then just get in there and get all your nice little details. I think, and this post goes all the way through, so this post goes on this side. I think I want to put one more post right here. Do I want to? Not sure. Well, let's at least put a little reflection in here. Now these trees, you see in the photograph, you see there's the reflections of the trees, right? So that's what we got to put in there next. And so for that, I'm going to use my small rigger brush. And I'm not going to do them straight like lines like they are in the photo, because they're pretty much straight. They're kind of broken up too. So this one right there, I'm going to come down here and break it up. I'm just going to break it up like it's like hitting the wave here and there. I don't make just a straight line, otherwise it won't look like water. Again, it has to look like there's a wave. This one right here is opposite, it goes in this direction. And that you should have in your drawing. I would draw these reflections in there so that you don't have to make a mistake. If you draw them up, but if you lose the line, then look for them again. Try to, or redraw them so that you don't make a mistake on how that look and the angle and stuff. You want to make the right angle. It's usually the opposite of what you see. Like if it's going this way, it's going this way. This one goes this way. This one goes up, so it goes this way. And I'll go like this, and then I come back down this way. And then you can also just randomly put in little lines that just because because there's something alien in there that's just putting little lines in there. I just like to put lines in there once in a while. And so here we go, a little bit of lines. And here I'll make this side of this post a little bit darker. These posts I'm going to make a little bit more orange on this side to give them a little bit of warmth. Because basically the sun is warm on a night like this. You know, that's what you're seeing is this a beautifully warm sun. Actually, I used a lot of yellow in this one because I thought it was kind of neat that you just use yellow instead of, a lot of times I make everything orange. This time I decided I'm going to go with a little bit more just pure yellow. And it's not a bad thing sometimes just to use yellow in your violets and my blue and a little bit of the orange. And so now the final details will be, when this is dry, to put the little lines on the pier. I'm going to put, with this light blue, I'm going to put some ropes hanging on here. I'm just going to kind of go around. Just put a couple of little ropes in hanging there, because there's always ropes and junk on a pier, right? You know, so put a little bit of that on there. And you can even put a little bit of white if you lose a little bit of white. If you use a little bit of white, I mean, and you've left some parts alone that you later on didn't, like on this side right here, let's say maybe put a little bit of white there just to kind of show that like it's reflecting a little bit of the sun on there. Now this is a no-no if you're going to submit to certain watercolor societies, so don't use white on certain watercolor societies. But if you're just doing it for yourself and you want to add a little bit of something, little because you didn't put mascoid there first, go ahead, you can do that. That's no big deal. Nobody's going to arrest you. I don't think. Alrighty, so let's see what else we got here. The edge of that post. I think I will put in a post in the front here because I just feel this is empty right here, so I'm going to put another one right here. Just feel like that needs one right there. It just seems empty right there, and it just would feel just a little bit better to have one right here. And then I can put a little bit of the edge down here. And this is not tangent, it's not that close. If I was running it right against there, yes, that would be tangent, but it's still far enough away that's not tangent. For those of you that read my newsletter about tangents. And again, if you want to get my newsletter, just sign up for it on my website at BeckerArt.net or davidarbecker.com. And you know, put a little bit of light into the water too. How about a little bit of reflecting of that? Or how about that blue, the light blue that I just used for the rope? It also has to be right down here, right? It would be down here in reverse. See that? You got to put that in there. It's a reflection. All right, I think we're almost done here. So, any more questions? And let's put a little bit more leaves in here, and I think we're almost done. Another Thursday night, and I got it done from Florida. Sorry again for not doing plein air, but that'll come in time. It just was a little bit too tough, and also that way you guys got your photograph beforehand. And if I were doing a plein air, I wouldn't be able to give you the photograph before. So I think we're good. Let me take the tape off, and we'll see what we have here. So when you take the tape off, always pull away from the scene. Don't pull it straight up because you may rip the paper. You know, even the best of paper sometimes you rip. If it's still wet, always pull away. Always pull it away from that area. Let me just put this down here. Here, pull it away. I didn't do 2 today because I didn't have class today. I'm not back home in my class. So usually I do 2, 1 beforehand. But today we're just doing 1 because I was not in class. I was on the beach. And so here we are. I'm going to put this right here. And let me just look at you guys. Where's my mouse? So I can... Where the heck is my mouse? Hold on 1 second here. I gotta find it. Oh, there we are. Let me go to here and just say goodbye, you guys. Thanks again, guys, for coming by. And here you have a beautiful painting of the Sarasota, the key out there in Sarasota, or any place in Florida, really. They all look pretty much the same. And so for another Thursday night, and next week, I'm not sure what we're doing. Again, always send me ideas. If you have ideas, I would love to hear them and see them. And we will let you know on Tuesday. Get my newsletter on Tuesday, and that's when I'll tell you what we're painting. All right? So until next time, guys, we'll see you later. Cheers, everybody.